I've
All right.
Negative, K, nothing further. Just Kitty Cabby on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, March 26, 2026. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. I'm here with a few of my friends. I have Tyrone Green. I have Will Quick, Aaron Cross, Jamel Stevenson, Mark Matthews, Rich Jordan, David Kennard, Derek Williams, and he's gone. I would give you his whole name, but he told me that don't do that. Don't do that. But I'm here with the crew. Amen. So, um, D, we're gonna get started with our introduction and a moment of silence. All right. Thank you so much, D. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. I'm going to read our disclaimer, and Rich is going to give us our statement of purpose. Our disclaimer, roll call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Please note the comments and express concerns made by members of Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations herein roll call panel are the opinions of the individual and not offered to or intended to be legal advice, recommendations, or suggestions for listeners and or observers. This panel may display graphic videos and photographs that are integral to or to spark discussion. These videos or photographs are not intended to offend any viewer or listener. A panel member will give notice to the audience as to the nature prior to displaying any graphic or sensitive video or photograph. Any graphic content displayed during the panel discussion has been obtained and shared from public social media platforms and is not the property of Roll Call. The language used by members of Roll Call and guests is spontaneous. It is uncensored and is not intended to offend the audience. That is our disclaimer, and Rich is going to give us our statement of purpose, and then we're going to turn it over to Derek to lead us today.
okay.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Welcome again to Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. We are a pro-law enforcement group. We're for equitable policing. We're against racism, and Black and Brown Lives Matter. We come to you each week and attempt to bridge the gap between law enforcement and your community. Thank you for being here with us.
All right. Before I give it to you, Derek, let me just say this. We're praying for Derek and Deirdre. We're praying for Cheech and Anna. We're praying for JT and his wife Orlando, who had major surgery. So we're praying for her. We're praying for Isabel Jordan. We're praying for Mark's sister-in-law Monique, who is recovering but still in need of our prayers. We're praying for my brother Tim, who still needs our prayers as well. And then this Sunday is Palm Sunday. I don't know if everyone recognizes Palm Sunday, and I know you know it as Easter Sunday, but you may hear me call it Resurrection Sunday. It's still a holiday, and we want to recognize that. Listen, we have someone just snuck in on our show. Where did she go? She done disappeared. She done fell off.
Snuck back out.
Yeah, we got it. When she sneak back in, we'll recognize that. At this time though, we're turned over to Derek.
All right. Good afternoon, roll call crew. And Donald did the previous introductions. And at the time, hey, Melba has joined us. At the time, we did not have CJ, we did not have Melba, and we did not have the Roadrunner, Ms. Kyle. And Kyle is back from another road running journey. So welcome everyone. Yep. And we would like to start off the show with Mr. D giving us one of the intriguing videos.
Right.
Is that Melba?
All right, our first video is going to take us to Kansas, but this seems to be happening all over America. Earlier last year, we spoke about wandering officers. That's officers that get fired from one agency and end up in another one. Let's take a look.
Called wandering cops, officers who resign or are terminated from one department and then get hired somewhere else. Well, tonight, a closer look at how common it is and what safeguards are in place in Kansas.
The term wandering cops may not be familiar to most people, but experts say the concept has been around for decades. So how often does it happen, and could it happen here? One expert tells me while research is limited, the problem exists, and when it does happen, there can be a risk.
If you let one officer who's done something bad go to another agency, we know this through research that normally they're going to continue to be involved in misconduct.
In Kansas, officers must be certified through the Kansas Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, often referred to as CPOST. Berzer says the state tracks decertifications.
If an officer is hired from another agency, they're going to collect that information to see if he was decertified.
But nationally, participation in a federal decertification index remains voluntary.
One thing that we could potentially look at, and it would require legislation to mandate that law enforcement at the local level report into the federal system.
KSN asked the Wichita Police Department about its hiring safeguards.
So every new applicant, whether someone who's never been in law enforcement or someone who is coming from another law enforcement agency, goes through a strict vetting process.
Ford says that includes reviewing disciplinary files, contacting previous agencies, background investigations, and a polygraph.
At any point we see that there are some discrepancies, then that you could be disqualified because you failed to disclose information.
If an officer resigns while under investigation, Wichita Police notify CPOST.
We send a separation letter to CPOST saying that this officer resigned under investigation.
Ford says the department also shares disciplinary information with other agencies upon request.
If you don't meet the standards that we all hold ourselves to work with this department, then we don't want you here.
CPOST determines whether officer certification should be pulled or remain. Berzer says the current system is really protecting the public, and agencies in Kansas take it pretty seriously. Here for you.
All right. Interesting. This is something that we've covered many times in the past. And obviously jumping from department to department is a lot easier in some places than it is in others. Right now we have Jamel with his hand up. Jamel, what do you have, sir?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Listen, I definitely applaud Wichita Police for going through the stringent review and to see the officers' backgrounds that look to be hired by that police department. We've, like Derek said, we've talked so many times before how police officers, they do this thing called wandering, where they are leaving a police department where they might be under investigation, and they leave before the investigation has concluded, only to try to find employment elsewhere throughout the country. But here we see that Wichita is nipping that in the bud and not allowing any type of rogue police officer that may have done something in another agency, and they think that they can get away with it and be hired by Wichita, and they'll put that bad behavior behind them. Thank you, guys.
All right, well said, Jamel. Next up, we have D.
All right, I think we were finding that some of our videos that we were sharing of the police officers that were getting themselves in some really bad problems, life and death problems. That's what was happening. They were going from, just to give a little background, agency to agency to agency. Once you're certified in a certain state or municipality, it was easy to go to another agency. And we know all the laws that we have. You can't really talk about someone's past employment sometimes. I've done many backgrounds, and you've gone and you said, hey, you know, how was Don working there? They can't tell you. They can tell you, yes, he worked here from here to here, but they can't tell you what happened. And it's about time that they've gotten to where they can peel those layers back, open up those reports, and find out just what those law enforcement officers are doing. I think with the introduction, you know, I was going to say this, of a polygraph is probably outstanding, because you can't run, you can't hide. Whatever's happening inside of you. So you can't, it's not like a resume that you can rewrite it when you're dealing with a polygraph. It is what it is. So I think that's a awesome part of the background investigation that you have to agree to. So overall, great thing. All of us here in the room know we don't want bad officers going from place to place. We don't want bad officers on the job at all. So this is a good step. That's all I got.
All right. Excellent, D. Excellent. Next up, we have AC, then Dave.
Good afternoon. I want to note and want everybody to understand that it's okay for officers to move to better situations or move to a different environment. That's not our problem. Our problem is when officers do bad things in one place and they get a chance to move and do bad things somewhere else. And especially when the new hiring department can't get information and find out what's wrong. If you're hiring because you did bad somewhere else, that's not fair to the new community or new department that's hiring you. And it's just not cool. If you're moving because you want to move or whatever reason, you don't like where you're at, or you want to go somewhere else, that should be a free market society. You should be able to take your services elsewhere. But when you're able to escape and go somewhere else to commit other crimes, that's not cool.
All right, excellent, AC. And for the people out there that have not been on a police department, when we speak of the term wandering, we're basically talking of someone that is moving because they've either been fired or because they're in trouble. There are actually a few people on this panel that have been on different police departments. If I recall correctly, Will has been on 2, Donald has been on 2, Mark has been on 3. So, but none of them left to go anywhere because they were in trouble. They left because they had the option of bettering their circumstances. So that's, when you do it that way, that's not wandering. When you leave because you're in trouble, that's wandering. All right, next up we have Dave and then Mark.
Yeah, good afternoon. We've all talked about this for so many years, man. You know, the officer who killed Tamir Rice, you know, he got fired from the department for cowardice before he joined Cincinnati. Okay, and he was allowed to go right in there. The young cop in East Pittsburgh Police Department a few years before COVID, okay, shot that young man in the back 5 times running away from a car. No crime was committed. The young men were just scared and they just ran on the car stop, okay, and killed him. And then he tried to join Penn Hill's department after they disbanded the East Pittsburgh City PD. Now, a lot of the state troopers in PA that I know from the cigar bar, they're actually pissed off with this because they think there's just too many damn little rinky-dink departments. And a lot of them are getting people who were fired, who were got in trouble, jammed up somewhere else. And these little departments are hiring people in these little townships. And a lot of the state troopers got to go in there and clean stuff up all the time. And so they complained about that, but they got nowhere without legislation in PA, you know. So I'm just saying, man, I'm glad something's trying, at least they're trying to do something now, because this bouncing around for the department because you're in trouble, you're doing something stupid, you know. Some people just don't have, you know, we talk about people that need to have a gun. They don't need to have one. Thank you.
Right. Well said, Dave. And I see that Kyle asked, she doesn't understand why agencies don't ask officers under penalty of perjury whether they have had disciplinary proceedings in another department or law enforcement agency. Kyle, honestly, I think some of these departments don't care. When you have your larger departments, you know, your most of the departments in the state of New York, your troopers, your New York City, your Nassau and Suffolk counties, and the incorporated villages that come off of those county exams, these different departments, or at least the county that hires them, they have investigative units called applicant processing. In applicant processing, they actually have investigators that work on the hiring process for people. Many of these small little one-horse town departments that have 15 or 20 people, they don't have an investigative process at all. Some of it's word of mouth. Some of it is you apply, and if they want to hire you, they'll hire you. If they think you fit into whatever their system is, whether it's the good old boy system or not, they'll hire you. But the larger departments all have investigative units that look into your backgrounds pretty extensively. And for the most part, they don't hire people that have been in trouble on other departments. They may hire some people that may eventually be trouble to their department, but they weren't trouble to another department before they came to them. And next up, we have Mark.
So one of the problems that can circumvent this is when you have an officer that's about to be in trouble. He's not going to be. It looks like he's going to be fired, but a lot of times the municipality or that department will say, "Listen, you have a choice. Instead of going through a long battle, you can either resign and then you can go elsewhere, or this is what's going to happen." So a lot of times that happens just before any disciplinary action is actually taken in certain circumstances. You know, they'll get a warning because you have some officers who do wrong and they want to fight everything. And the unions will go bankrupt trying to keep these officers on the job. And the municipality doesn't want the aggravation of a lengthy lawsuit. So a lot of times they'll just make a proposal and say, "Hey, listen, you know, Mark, you messed up. You're going to be brought up on charges, but if you want to, you can resign, and then this way you can go someplace else." It gets them out of their hair. And, you know, I heard AC say it's not fair, but that's the way it's done a lot of times. That was it.
All right. Mark, well said. Next up, we have Don and then Rich.
Okay, I just want to go through those who are watching: Sylvia Butler, Donald Coleman, Burl McMillan, Renee Henderson, Bernard Gifford came on with me. Bernard Gifford in 1986. Beverly Harrison Wells says hello everyone. Hope all are well. Richard Bowden, howdy, and Richard's mother, who happens to be my aunt. Her birthday is on Monday, so happy birthday to your mom, Rich. I think I said Valerie Burris Marsh. Okay, that's it. I just want to recognize that today we have all 4 of our women on with us right now. This is Women's History Month. We have all 4 of our women on today, and I like that. It looks good. It brings some flavor to the show. All right. So go ahead, Derek. That's all I want to say.
All right, and welcome, Jerry. You just came on, so we've been proceeding without you, but welcome. Thanks for coming. Next up, we have Rich.
Okay, once again, welcome, ladies. You're all late, but glad y'all are here. You know? I'm just playing. The poster child for this wandering was the killer of Sonia Massey. This guy was in 6 departments like in less than 6 years, and looks like it was mostly the Good Old Boys network that kept him getting on departments. And as we know, the case with Sonia Massey, she called the police to check something strange happening outside her house, maybe a prowler. And then this guy wound up getting into her house and, threatening her to shoot her in the face, and he did. Supposedly over a scalding pot of water, which wasn't an issue. It was really no threat to him. And he took her life. He wound up getting 20 years. So for that murder, which was good as far as that's concerned, because sometimes these good old boys get away with doing these kind of dick dastardly things and they're not held accountable. But this was actually a really bad wandering case. And I hope in the future this can put this to kind of a stop, or either slow it down somewhat based on, how this was done with this officer, and somebody lost their life. So that's how bad it can be. That's all I got.
All right, excellent. Next up, we have Will.
In North Carolina, it's wonderful to have protocols in place to try to eliminate this sort of thing. It doesn't make sense kicking a bad apple down on to the next. North Carolina has 2 particular forms that address that. One is called the F5 form, which is a separation form. The agency that you're in, they've amended it a few years ago, because it used to be you could fill out that form, say that the officer is no longer with you with no other explanation. They just know that that agency is not where that officer is working for the purposes of carrying their certification. So it used to be you didn't have to put anything on there. Now you have to put on there something that indicates, is this person eligible to be rehired at your agency? So even if you want to be cryptic about the information, if you answer yes to that, then that should ring a bell for anybody doing your background check. I need to start digging into this. But then you have the personal information form that you have to fill out, that you have to update. And if something on your personal information form is inconsistent with previous personal information forms, then that could be a flag. The hiccup is this: there's still loopholes in the process, and there's still an awful lot of good old boy network, for lack of better terms, within our profession. There are some departments that will give someone an out by allowing them to resign without saying anything negative. Maybe not so much because it's getting that person out of their hair, but I think we all know when you start scratching the surface on one issue, you have to be careful that it doesn't expose you in other areas. So if they've got an officer that could potentially expose them in other areas, they'll be more than happy to let that officer go, and even give them a recommendation to go elsewhere, just to keep themselves insulated from other stuff. And it's sad because we are always struggling with validity and trust in the community. And that always seems to be the catchphrases that we're always seemingly behind the eight ball with. But unless and until there's a way in place, and I think, Jim, you spoke about this with the current administration, there used to be there's a federal mandate to try to alleviate this, but the current administration is trying to, or did do away with that, if I remember. But unless and until we get every department head from every state in the country on board, there's always going to be a crack for somebody to slither through, because they'll know somebody that'll be like, oh man, that ain't that bad. Come on and work for me. And they'll be in a position to get them a job. That's it.
And Will, I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't, since you said that, I don't foresee a time where all heads of every department would even agree on that. I don't, there will always be people that don't think what someone did was bad enough. And Jim, I see your finger. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say to Will, that's accurate. The federal government was going to they were in process of comprising a list of all officers that were involved in any kind of crimes or any kind of serious allegations. But of course, the Trump administration got rid of it immediately. So you are right. It was going to be done, but it's not in place right now.
All right. And welcome, by the way, Jim. I didn't welcome you. You came on after we started. I see AC's hand up, and after AC, if no one else has anything to say, D will take us to the next video. AC?
Yeah, just so we know also, that list and other processes that help prevent bad officers from going elsewhere is good only when the accepting department doesn't want bad officers. Sometimes that list is just a recruiting page.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, Jamel. You're muted.
Yes, I think that if I'm correct, we have a few of the officers that are on ICE. I think they were some were from the January 6th uprising. So right there, we know that list, it doesn't mean anything by the recruiting agency.
Right. Those are people they desire to have on their department. So, all right, D, what do you have for us, sir?
I think CJ had a hand up.
Oh,
I did. And just real quickly, Derek, just to correct, not correct, but add to something that you had made statement of. When you first opened up the panel, this conversation, it was about the smaller agencies being investigated. They don't have that great department that will investigate us. But just so you know that they are governed by for the most part, they're governed by the county that they lie within. So they are they are investigated by the county that department lies within.
okay. Got it. Excellent piece of information. And Mark, and then Will.
Yeah, I'm sorry, real quick. Cheryl, that's not always true.
I was about to say it, yeah.
Because if, like, we hired people from NYPD and Nassau County really didn't vet them that much.
Ooh.
Because they were coming from another department. So I had to end up doing it.
But you got vetted several times, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm still getting vetted.
He got vetted by me. I say he's cool. Let's go.
So Richard Bowden had a question. He said, saying a person is not eligible for rehire can get an employer sued. I used to work for a company that didn't rehire anybody. If you work for them, they never answered if you are eligible for rehire. They just verified employment dates. And Mr. Bowden, in most work environments, completely get it. But when you sign on to go through the background process with a law enforcement agency, there's a form, a waiver that most people sign, where an agency would ordinarily, or an employee would ordinarily not divulge that information. As a previous employee, you sign a waiver allowing them to release that information, because as a law enforcement officer, any agency considering hiring you needs to know exactly who it is they're dealing with. So there's no legal ramifications provided the appropriate documentation is signed. If a candidate won't sign that release, then the application should go right in the trash. No two ways about it. If they sign that release, any and everything in their personnel file now becomes reviewable for the purposes of pre-hire.
100% correct. And CJ, I saw your hand go up again.
No. I was getting ready to mess with Will.
Yes, Don.
Yeah, I think Mark addressed this a while ago where he said that the departments were not allowed to divulge that information or did not. And then when he was asked, I think, Mark, am I correct with that?
Yeah, there's a law where, you have to be careful what you say when another agency asks you about an employee. And the safest way, unfortunately, is to just say, yeah, he was hired on this date and, he left on this date, or he's looking to retire on this date, or he's looking to leave on this date. So we have to be careful what we say. I mean, there's certain inflections you can say. Of course, if he's a real good officer, any investigator will kind of read between the lines. If I was, say, investigating, getting a phone call for like AC, I would have a lot of accolades for him. But then all of a sudden, if I have, somebody else, John Doe, and I'm like, oh yeah, he was hired on this date, and this is how long he's got, and I'm very vanilla about it, they really should read between the lines. But one thing that MAGA has brought out that we haven't really touched on is within the police departments, there's a lot of camaraderie. And there's a lot of officers who, just because that person was an officer, will look the other way because of that brotherhood. And that's the problem for the community. I'll just leave it at that.
So that's why I think it's very important that when we make that statement that different municipalities do it different ways. I'm listening to Will. There's some verifications going on back there in North Carolina that bad officer is not just going to slip over there just unless that agency wants them, like AC said, But in New York, and I remember Mark Sanders, because I didn't agree with Mark when he said it, that's why I remember it. I said that sounds kind of crazy. You just wouldn't let another agency know that they're getting a bad apple. But he said, that was his stance back then, that they just couldn't give up certain information, which was totally surprising to me. But if you're not on administrative level, you don't know that stuff. I didn't know that stuff.
It wasn't
to do with the.
It wasn't my rule.
The unionized, isn't it? Doesn't it have something to do with the union, Mark?
No, it had to do with I forget which law, but there's a law, civil service law, that's involved in that, and you could actually get sued. If I was to say that, Officer Jones was a complete train wreck, I'd be liable. So to avoid that, you just are very vanilla. But like I said, a good investigator will read between the lines.
Did the union lobby to get that law in place? I realize that might be a bit more detailed information, but that sounds like something that a union would lobby for on behalf of officers to get put into legislation.
Well, if it wasn't just the law enforcement unions. It was all unions. The unions up here are very strong.
Yeah.
Very.
That they are. And do we have anyone else that has any input on this subject?
Just to say that's exactly what Richard Bowden was saying.
Okay.
That's exactly what he was saying. Okay.
All right. Mr. D, if you could take us to the next video.
All right. I don't want us to seem like we picking on NYPD, but
we are.
Case with a ranking officer and inappropriate situations with people that work for him. This last week we had two people of the same rank, and under our corner FAFO. This is what happens. We'll give you a little more details as the video goes on. Let's take a look.
This is April 6, 2023, inside NYPD headquarters. What you just saw was one NYPD captain punch another NYPD captain in the face. Both are not just captains, they're precinct commanders. What happened in that elevator is part of a larger story about sexual harassment of female officers in the NYPD. A pervasive, persistent problem that a state Supreme Court justice ruled last month was evidence of a de facto city policy. What happened in that elevator at NYPD headquarters started here 4 months before, on December 10th, the night of December 9th to 10th, in Paterson, New Jersey. That's Harriton Marachilian right there, captain of the 9-0 precinct in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I know.
He went out with the female NYPD captain who had punched him in the face in the elevator. They spent a night out in Paterson with friends, and it ended like this. Someone called 911 on them.
Yes, I saw a man on top of a woman outside of a car.
Okay.
When I saw them, he was laying on top of her.
Like she was laid out on the floor and he was on top of her?
Right.
And do you know where his hands were, or was he like punching?
No, it was too dark. I couldn't tell.
Okay.
Well, all I know is I parked behind him. I kept on blowing on the horn. He eventually got up. She got up. She came towards me. She told me to call the police. That's when I called the police.
So that's what the first 911 caller said. Here's what the second 911 caller said.
I called the cops again. I'm like, yo, she's about to get killed. Like, y'all need to get up here fast.
So he was basically stomping her?
Yeah, he was stomping her. He was stomping her out. Right here. But then they let the guy go.
Here's one of the officers going up to the female NYPD captain in the
Can you
car.
tell me what happened today? You want to tell me what happened? You want to tell me about the blood on your face? Okay. Who's that person to you? A friend? Okay. So she's refusing medical attention.
I'm Sergeant Sean of Patterson PD. What's going on? Nothing happened? Did you fall? What happened to your face?
Going to the Smith Street. We tried to call about
You don't remember what happened? You sure about that?
That was it. They let Marachilian go. One thing they did right was they got her phone from him, and she was able to call a friend, and the friend came and picked her up. But they were originally gonna let Marachilian there drive away with her, according to police reports and other documents from the incident that I obtained. These are images of the female captain, NYPD captain's injuries. You see the marks on her neck that Captain Marachilian left on her. The NYPD didn't open internal affairs investigation into Captain Marachilian until later that summer, August 2023, when another woman obtained a restraining order against him in New Jersey for choking her and threatening her. That's when the NYPD finally opened an investigation, and they also suspended him from his precinct in Brooklyn. They also took the female captain's precinct from her as well. Now, Marachilian ultimately pled guilty to aggravated assault with strangulation, and he was sentenced to 3 years in a New Jersey prison. He's scheduled to be released later this year. For the full report, check out thefreelancenews.org and consider making a donation and supporting independent journalism.
All right. We're going to have Jim and then Dave. This is a very interesting topic. Jim and then Dave.
This, as far as I can see here, has nothing to do with being police captains. Zero. This has to do with him a domestic, because of the boyfriend girlfriend thing at the scene. The cops didn't handle that right. Being a domestic violence coordinator at Hempstead for many, many years, I would have had a fit if those cops didn't take action then. But other than that, she punched him in the nose. Big deal. That's the least that she should have done to him. You know, it's to me. And by the way, both losing their commands, I think that's a good thing too, because she's got some problems with judgment, obviously.
Obviously.
That's all I got.
All right. Next up, we have Dave.
Yeah.
Dave. Good.
A lot of us on here with NYPD. Yeah. And first of all, those cops in Jersey should never let him go. I wouldn't have. Somebody from NYPD would have had to come across that water, okay, and see for themselves in IAB. Look, this is what we have. Now she doesn't want to talk. She'll be talking after eventually, but she doesn't want to talk now. Then none of them are going home. She's going to get treated for her injuries, but they're not leaving. Okay, and I wouldn't be surprised, man, if NYPD knew about these two or knew about the gentleman's behavior prior to this. Okay, sometimes, man, like we were saying earlier, people let shit slide. Okay, but you see it in their performance. Okay, now when both losing their commands, yeah, they deserve to lose them, and she should never get one back. Okay, this is not about NYPD; it's about them, and right, it is her judgment and his judgment. Okay, but now you got the NYPD uniform on, and this is what you call it. You got an NYPD badge in your pocket, and when the cops stop you, and when people call on you, okay, you're sitting there with your badge and your pistol on you. Now what? And an injured woman. Now what? So I'm just saying, I wonder how many other women are out there. I'm done.
All right, Dave. Next up, we'll have Dee, and then we'll have Will.
And Mark.
You're muted, Dee.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. My bad. I just want to say a couple of quick things, really quick. Normally, when you're in a, well, let me say this first. I don't know how it works with other agencies, but with the state police, and you make an arrest, all this calling a supervisor, I never started hearing about that until maybe a couple of years ago. When I was an active police officer, we never, you want to call a supervisor, get the sergeant out here. You made that decision yourself. If you have injuries on a person, you have a witness saying that the other person stomped them out, the bracelet's got to go on. I'm thinking jury. Anybody else with me? I don't care what badge you have. You the Ayatollah. I could care less. You got to go. It's just the way it is. There's rules to this game. The second thing I wanted to say was most of us and any supervisors in the room knew day one of supervisor school was taught you have to avoid the appearance of impropriety. I'm not saying you can't do what you want to do with that person, or you can't, but any appearance of impropriety, you're wrong. End of story. I don't care. Precinct commander, station commander, zone commander. Those titles are very, very nice. But when impropriety comes in the door, you got to go. It's just the way it is. You had to avoid that, because as a supervisor, and we got some people who want law enforcement watching, I got 30 people watching me. You see and that my responsibility is those 30 people, not just how I might be feeling at a particular time. So you have to avoid all of that. Avoid a lot of things on the job you may have wanted to do. You just have to avoid it. Some people call you an a-hole or you're an idiot because you handle things a certain way, but I can't be caught up in this under any circumstances. They can't connect me with this, because there's a bigger conversation than just me. I'm gonna Jim might like this. I'm gonna equal it to an office. It's not you in the office. It's not D Schoon, the senior investigator. There's a senior investigator's office that I gotta protect because that office keeps the job going. And with me just trying to do what I want to do, that's why we have problems. And that's where it starts. And I think with these two individuals, her as well as him, only because, well, let me not say that. Because if she doesn't want to press charges or she doesn't want to be cooperative, then I'm her advocate and I'll be the a-hole. That's just what it is. That's what you have to do. You have to say, okay, ma'am, fat lip, let me take pictures of it. Nothing happened. No problem. I'll write that down and I'll put handcuffs on him. And that's where we go. So I think there's a lot of things in here. Jim said it right. Those officers out there dropped the ball. And hopefully they were held accountable. I know. I've been out. I've been in a place where there's more police bosses than any place in the world. Listen, partner, I gotta. When it comes in, it's the rules, bosses or not. That no longer. We have a term. The guy in uniform, that line trooper, he could be 2 days out of the academy. I don't care if you are high, exalted, grand mystic poobah in your job. He's in charge. He makes the job. That's the way it always went. And you go back to the station, everybody's gonna have your back. It's not even a conversation. It's not even, let me get your suit, let me, the sergeant, somebody's going to call down from. That's not the way we did work out there. It was, did Schoon say he was arrested? That's it. My issue is now I got to go down to Kyle and I got to go handle it down there. That's my next step. But as far as the job is concerned, it's done. So I think we got to get back to those line officers. Just do, I say it every week. I'm going to say it again. Man, do your job. That's all I'm asking. Just do your job. And I'm out.
All right. Next up, we're going to have Will. Then Mark. I saw Donald had his hand up, but it's now down.
Jamal.
Okay. And then Jamel. All right. Will, go ahead.
So for our listeners out there, they may or may not understand. The lady, will say the victim in this case, obviously was not cooperative with law enforcement officers. And a lot of people are of the mindset that if the victim's not cooperative, then you don't have a crime to be able to prosecute. All of us here know that there are two criminal areas that have some of the strongest advocates, if not lobbyist groups out there when it comes to law enforcement. That's MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And the other is any organization committed to addressing domestic violence and SA. They put those typically under the same umbrella. Legislation has changed from the standpoint of law enforcement beyond the cooperation of a victim when you have the totality of circumstances and evidence that supports that the crime has been committed and you can readily identify the offender responsible for that crime. In the case of domestic violence, you better put bracelets on, because folks don't realize or recall a lot of times that crime is a crime of control and the victim is in a place where they are scared to go against their abuser for fear that it's only going to get worse. And they're also scared because they're scared the system is going to let them down and then expose them. Because when it comes back around again, they don't have 24/7 security from law enforcement. And that could be somebody that says, all I need to do is get it right once. So understand the apprehension of a victim in that circumstance, but I do not understand the officers making the choice to not arrest him. They were both in plain clothes. I didn't hear in any of it that either of them had revealed that they were on the job. So it wasn't like they pulled out rank or whatever. So and that shouldn't have mattered anyway. If anything, that should have been more reason to have arrested him, because you know better. The higher up you go, the better you're supposed to know better. But just overall, the point is understanding, in spite of the fact that the victim didn't want to cooperate, history has shown us and training teaches us that that doesn't mean that we don't advocate for the victim and do what the law requires and what is right to do in that situation.
All right, well, thank you for your input. Next up, we will have Mark.
Yeah, Jim had his hand up before. Jim, you want to go in first?
I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Well, thanks for that.
Happy birthday.
So I don't want to go over what Jim just said, but, you know, I've locked up many a person on a domestic where the victim didn't want to press charges. But if I had injuries, and especially if I had witnesses, I had a woman one time in her apartment, no witnesses, but when she got to the door, it's not funny, but I had to argue with her because she had about a 12-inch slice of wood still embedded in her head from when she got hit with like a dinner tray. And I had to argue with her, and just to take a picture, I said, you know what? You want to press charges? That's fine. Let me get you medical help because it can get infected. It's close to your brain, your temple. So I had to kind of talk myself into it. And she finally let me take pictures. And then later on, of course, we locked my homeboy up, and that was it. So Dave was right. Make a phone call at NYPD if you're another agency. Get somebody down there, but you got to go. They got to go. Lock them up. If she don't want to press charges, she can go to court or not go to court, but an arrest will be made.
All right. Excellent, Mark. And Don, if you wanted to speak, you would be up now.
All right. Donald Coleman says that's what happens when two officers in the same department start dating one another. Then Renee Henderson says, doesn't matter if both belong to the same department, he abuses women.
That's the truth, baby.
I'm with that. I'm with that 100%. So,
me too.
Donald Coleman says, join the club, Jim. Richard Ballin says, if they had their weapons on them, they should have gotten 2 years. New Jersey tried to give the provost marshal at Fort Dix 2 years for being off post with the sidearm. Governor Christie had to step in and stop it. The lieutenant colonel was on his way to a family emergency. Now, I don't know what year that was, but I remember years ago, Derek, I know I was on transit, but you just couldn't come through New Jersey with your gun.
Oh,
and,
that's right.
And NYPD officers, sometime going up to Orange County, had to go through New Jersey to get to Orange County, and one of our sergeants got arrested for carrying his gun as a not retired but an active police officer. Off duty, off duty, Jerry, off duty. And he got
the rule that you had to unload it.
You couldn't have it
somewhere not on your body.
From what I understood, you just couldn't have it in there.
No, it was my understanding it had to be an unloaded weapon. Now maybe I forgot because I'm getting old too. My birthday just passed, so
you could go ahead,
you couldn't take it at all, CJ. It's funny because I used to like to travel with my firearm on me, and I knew if I was going south, the first state we had to go through was New Jersey, so I had to leave it home.
Yeah,
you couldn't have it at all.
Oh, y'all disobeyed the law.
No, I didn't. I wouldn't take mine. I wouldn't do it. I'd leave it home.
Y'all some good citizens.
Yeah, you better be careful because even right now, you can't go through certain states with the capacity of more than 10 rounds.
Right.
Now, you may have a magazine that holds 15, 16, and only have 9 in there. You're still going to jail. 16. You can't have the capacity of having more than 10 rounds. So,
right.
So I'm just saying, listen, be careful. The other part I was going to say was that when it comes down to domestic violence, I want you guys know, I want the people who listen to know that you've taken the discretion from the police department, from the police office. They don't have no discretion. It's mandatory to do something about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, don't forget in New Jersey, even though we can carry in there now, you still can't have hollow points. Whether you're active or retired, and even if you're active and the hollow points are your ammunition of departmental choice, you still have to carry some dummy rounds and switch them out when you go through Jersey. So they're very strict. So that just goes back to what we always say in the beginning. When you go from municipality to municipality, the rules change, even if you have a shield.
Absolutely, Mom. Absolutely.
All right. Are you done, Don?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, we have Jamel.
Yes. You know, I find the actions of that male officer reprehensible. You know what he did to that female. But also, like Dee was saying, you know, those officers on the scene from Patterson, they dropped the ball on that, man. And then you had the sergeant that was like putting words in the female mouth where he said, "What happened? Did you fall on your face?" Like almost like trying to give an alibi to the male officer. You know, so it just shows you how you still have the good old boy network going, even in an incident like that, where you have this Patterson sergeant trying to look out for the male officer there. So it still exists. It just still exists. Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Jerry. You had your hand up. You want to say anything?
I did. As I was watching it, I was a little disarmed or alarmed about the fact that she initially, the officer or captain, was she? Were they both captains? Yeah. By the way, the officers, she wasn't saying anything, but then I rolled back because, in all honesty, I've been a victim personally. And I remember blaming myself because I kept thinking I put myself in a position, which could have been her attitude. I put myself in a position where I was trusting and I was abused. And I was blaming me instead of looking directly in the eye the perpetrator who abused me. And, you know, I was like, and then bottom line is she loses, but she loses right along with the guy who sexually abused her, you know, because they did say they both lost their positions.
Their commands, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I was like, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
I'm going to talk about that after Dave goes. But.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, as I was watching it, I was like, speak up, my girl. How you going to let him just do that? And then I rolled it back and said, Jerry, wait a minute. Your own situation where you guys are hearing stuff that most people don't know when I say that. Because I have been a victim and I never called out the abuser. And it's like more recently where I sit back and go, oh my. And like I said, I thought I in my mental, you were responsible for allowing that to happen, because if you hadn't done this, if you had put up this block and block that, it would not have happened. So
it still would have happened.
It's not okay.
It still would have happened because of the mentality of the person.
I was about to say, it wasn't you, baby. It was him.
Right. Yep.
And in that same case with that woman, that captain, it wasn't her. It was him. One of you guys made a comment. Oh, she was. It wasn't her. It was him. And I become offensive because I too have been a victim as well, Jerry. And at the end of the day, I know damn well, I don't care how much I run my damn mouth, because I will. I'll let you know you're good and stupid and you're ignorant or whatever. And that still does not give you the right to raise your hand and hit me.
Abuse. Yeah.
Absolutely, CJ. And that needs to be emphasized on this show.
Yep. And next up, we have Dave.
Yeah,
you got more.
I
didn't see Mark's hand.
Sorry to cut you, Dave. I just wanted to get clarification. Jerry said sexual abuse. I think that was only physical abuse there, right? Not that it lessened, but it wasn't a sexual case. It was a physical case.
I felt
well, Mark, we don't know that because initially, let me just, if I can interrupt. Initially, the first gentleman said he was laying on top of her in the car.
Right.
So I just want to
that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking. I'm not making a choice. I was asking because I thought it was just a physical. I didn't know whether or not it was brought out that it was sexual or not.
Yeah.
Didn't they describe it as SA? When I heard SA, I thought that meant sexual abuse. I'm sorry, guys. Am I being stupid when I thought that? Because they described it as
Actually said it as sexual. They actually said it.
See, I missed that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
Yep. All right, Dave.
Yeah, those cops, those responding officers over there, I forgot to say, they should all be fired too. And the fucking guy robbed the girl too, took a damn cell phone. She didn't hand it to him. He forcefully took it from her.
Yeah.
And me as an old robbery detective for 12 years, you know I want the number. Okay? I want the number. But those cops over there in Jersey should be fired. But that Patterson Police Department's been shit for years though. Okay, been shit for years, going back decades. Okay, but yeah, but and another thing is this: I know she's the victim, but she guilty as shit too for protecting the motherfucker.
Yeah.
Okay.
But is it protection or just
Her protection was on their jobs. Believe that.
No,
That protection was on their jobs.
No, Jerry, I'm going to be her boss. I'm going to be her as a boss. When she goes to a domestic violence job as a captain, okay, she's going to be the one talking to the female victim to get her to come forward and speak up. It's okay, young lady. Come on, speak to me. Tell me what happened. Now she's twisted in this situation and she's protecting them with bad injuries on her face. We don't know if she had facial fractures or what. Okay, one guy, the witness is saying he was stomping her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, no, she's just trying to protect him and her. She's trying to protect her position and him too.
Okay,
Okay,
I did
no.
I did admit I'm not an officer, never have been. I was just coming from.
No, man, that don't give her a pass either. I'm sorry, it don't.
I agree with the punishment.
Yeah, and she's, Dave, as a captain, she's not going to any domestic violence jobs. The only jobs that a captain, a CO or a captain is going to respond to is like a shooting or something like that. They're not going to a domestic violence job, but she's guilty also because she punched him in the face in that elevator. And in that elevator, they were in one police plaza when that happened. So both of them are abusive. Now,
But I thought
obviously,
that punch came afterwards, Derek. The punch came afterwards, because that when they came to the story, they was like prior to that. This is what happened a month ago or whatever.
It still counts.
Right. So if someone robs you a month earlier, you see them a month later. If you walk up and punch them in the face, it's still an assault.
Assault.
Still is.
It's still an assault.
That's right.
Right. Just like Dave was right about the robbery. Any forcible taking of property, forcible taking is a robbery. A forcible larceny is a robbery. So that's another charge.
But that falls under DV, the DV law, though.
It doesn't. No, it's still a robbery. It's still a robbery. In New York City, that's a robbery. Any forcible larceny is a robbery.
It's
Doesn't
in New
matter
York
whether it's
State.
connected to DV or not.
In New York State, it's a robbery.
Okay, yeah. So
But she sure made sure to show him the camera after she hit him, though.
Right.
Yeah, she pointed to her. You're right. She pointed to her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In other words, don't hit me
Don't
back.
come back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to expand on this a couple of different ways, like with calling the supervisor. Any arrest made by an NYPD officer, not all across New York State, but NYPD, any arrest, the supervisor has to be notified.
Wow.
And the supervisor has to come and justify the arrest. So a supervisor is going to be called to the scene anyway in New York City. A supervisor has to be notified if someone has been arrested from another department. So they don't necessarily have to come to the scene, but they have to come to the scene because they have to justify the arrest. But you arrest someone from the same department, there's going to be, it's called a general order, a GO. So there's going to be interviews, there's going to be a team, there's going to be the commanding officer, and there's going to be either a chief or an inspector from the borough that's going to come and do interviews. So it turns into a big deal. But I'll say this also, this male, the male captain, he was unlucky. And I say now he deserved what he got, but I say he was unlucky because usually on NYPD, once you reach the status of captain, you're protected. And I know if there's probably a bunch of people, if they're sitting at home listening to this now, they're saying, no, don't say that, don't say that. Nonsense. They're protected. Once you reach the rank of captain, there's only a certain amount of them in each borough. and they do what they can to protect them, to keep them on. Even when they lose their command, they send them somewhere safe so that they can finish out their career without getting fired. And if this guy did not get convicted and sent to prison, he would have been sent somewhere safe so he could finish out his career. Now, bad for more than a couple of reasons, but chief among them is, as long as you keep your rank. Like I personally worked for a captain that he was beating up his girlfriend in the street. He was married too, but this was his girlfriend. He was beating up his girlfriend in the street. Somebody stepped to him like, yo, stop hitting that woman. He flashes his captain's shield, tell the person to get out of there. They notify the police. He ended up getting arrested. They pulled him out. He worked in the police academy. They pulled him out of the academy and they sent him to the borough office of Queens North, where he stayed for the next 3 years until he hit his 20 years. And then he was able to retire. And this is what happens when you reach those ranks, captain or above. They do whatever they can to protect you because you're part of, I guess, whatever club they feel like you're part of. They protect you. They hold on to you until you're eligible to retire. If this guy didn't get convicted and sent to prison, they would have done the same thing for him. And as far as them like two captains dating each other or whatever, very commonplace. There are many teams of married NYPD officers, many of them, hundreds. So it is like, there's no rule. Obviously, if you're a supervisor, you shouldn't be dating your subordinate, but if they work in two separate commands, no big deal.
A big deal.
Yeah. Another thing that's interesting about these people getting protected and being kept on, once you reach the rank of captain, the next two promotions are to deputy inspector and full inspector. They call it full bird. If you are a captain for 5 years and you do not get promoted, you get a raise to deputy inspector's pay automatically. So if this person had 3 years as a captain, the lady, and she loses her command and she gets sent to a borough somewhere, in 2 more years, she's getting a raise anyway, even if she doesn't get a promotion. So once they reach that protected status, it is just like bonus after bonus after bonus. It's incredible. So, all right, man, that's all I have. I don't know if anyone else has anything on the subject.
Mark's hands up.
Mark and myself.
Mark and then Don and then AC.
AC.
So I do have to come to her defense. As a victim of domestic violence, it's harder to be involved in something and stick to what's supposed to happen. You know, she could have been embarrassed. She could have been whatever she went through. But you may know the rules when, you know, as far as being an officer, but when you're personally involved, it's hard to see that. I see that even with people in psychology where they know what to do, but when they're personally involved in those situations, it's hard to make those decisions. So I have to give her a pass on that. But, and Jim will back me up, it really didn't matter. You had 2 witnesses. You had physical injuries. An arrest should have been made. I don't care if she got on a police car was doing the Dougie. It don't matter. Homeboy's getting arrested, and y'all can figure it out later.
There you go. All right, AC.
Oh, it's my turn.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, I think what Mark said is really correct because Mark, as a police officer, I knew what to do when I ran up on the 80. But when the 80 was my own daughter, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on until I got to the hospital. And that's when my oldest daughter was having a seizure, stiffened up, and I didn't even know what was going on. I just told my wife to wrap her up. Let's get to the hospital. We got to Hempstead General, so that's how long that was. Hempstead General walked through the door, and Warren Heller's wife met us at the door. And as soon as I saw her, I knew she was a nurse. As soon as I saw her, I knew what was going on with my daughter. But prior to that, I didn't have no clue what was going on after seeing all of this going on in the work field. So I wanted to say that just because Mark just said that. But Tim Edwards has joined us. Tim Edwards says, good afternoon, everyone. Great conversation for knowledgeable information. Thank you, Tim Edwards. Renee Henderson says she couldn't have been scared to get in the same elevator with her abuser. Our very own, the Quiet Storm, Kyle says there's a different dynamic happening when they're both in uniform and inside a law enforcement building. Her level of safety and power in the situation is far greater than when they were off duty on the street. That's true, but I think only one had a uniform on. She didn't
Well,
have a
he
uniform.
did, but they were obviously coming from a meeting, and she stepped in, punched him in the face, and pointed up to the camera like,
And
"You
she
can't hit
knew.
me back."
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
she
she knew exactly what she was doing. She waited until they got in the elevator to hit him because the camera was in there.
by themselves too. So
Right.
she did that. And Brian Camp says, are ranking officers or uniform or unionized like officers? Okay, are they
Yes.
unionized like officers? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's your answer, Brian. That's in case y'all want to know, that's Reverend Camp's brother. Yeah, Kyle answered it. Kyle answered it before I got to it. Okay. All right, that's what I wanted to just get that information in there. Go ahead.
All right. AC, you had your hand up. Yes.
Thank you. I won't be long. First of all, I want to caution us and other people. Let's not further victimize victims. Let's just remember that we deal with domestic violence. The process is a difficult process anyway, and we make it the reason why you don't have to have a statement from the victim and the state picks up charges in New York is so they don't have to be further victimized by making those decisions. But put that aside. Those two cops, that's a big dynamic that they need more than just a law to fix. What can be fixed is the response that the New Jersey police had. It's no way possible there shouldn't be an arrest there. I don't know if everybody realized, everybody had long sleeve shirts and or jackets there. And he's in there with a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
A
In
tank
December.
top.
In December.
Oh, I didn't know what month
Yeah.
it was. I just realized
Yeah.
he took his shirt off because it had blood on it.
December. I saw it when I saw it at AC. I was like, man, it's freezing out there.
I'm not. If you're a cop at that scene, why is he dressed different than everybody else?
Yeah.
In addition to her face being bloody, there has to be an arrest. You call it whatever you want, even if they didn't know each other, it should be an arrest.
I'm with you.
Yep.
100% correct.
Even though
Right.
they did know each other, AC, they
But
should have been
even if
arrested.
they did know each other, it should
Even
be an
though they
arrest.
did.
Right.
Yeah.
And assault is an assault, and a domestic violence assault is a mandatory arrest as an officer, even if you don't see it.
Exactly.
So just the fact that they got there and they knew there was an altercation and she had injuries, it's an automatic arrest. It's automatic. There is no did you fall and hit your face. It's an automatic arrest. Done.
Y'all did see them lips,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah. Richard Bowden says, getting into an elevator with your abuser is nothing. People sleep in bed with their abuser.
Come on here. You saying something.
You can't get away from it.
Most people have no idea what abusers go through.
Absolutely. That commentator knew just what he was saying.
Yeah. That right there is really so true. And a lot of men, I'm not gonna say they haven't been abused because the men abuse as well as women, but the physical part of it, we don't get as much as the women do.
Right.
You know? And I don't know how I would handle being physically abused. I mean, someone just overpowering you and taking over your will, and I mean, it's got to be a terrible, terrible thing. And that's why I've always said, listen, before I hit a woman, I'm walking away. That's plain and simple. Before I decide to hit a woman, I'm going the other direction because I just don't want to be accused of anything like that. Well, go ahead, Derek.
Yes. If no one else has anything to say, we're going to let Mr. D take us to the next and final video.
Wait a minute. I'm being abused right now. Hold up. Let's see. And she hiding now. She in the background throwing punches at me. Like,
Can I just say one more thing too, guys? I'm sorry. We're talking about physical abuse, but can I talk about how severe mental abuse is, where someone is even sometimes even more painful?
Yeah.
That mental
it's the same.
aspect where they're, I mean,
Yeah,
not
abuse is
punching me in my
abuse.
face, but still beating me down.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just
No,
wanted to say
no, don't, Jerry. Don't be sorry.
Just wanted to say.
That's a very true statement. That is
Just
very
wanted to-
true. Some kids are being,
Financial, emotional,
mentally abused.
I mean, that verbal abuse sometimes
Right?
puts
Right?
a
Right,
lot
Will?
in it. Punch.
We've been seeing that on Facebook, right? So we had the same conversation with that thing. So,
Yeah.
oh, and Jamel. Yeah, Jamel saw that too. He commented on it. Yeah.
Jerry, that's why you're here, to give your experience. So we appreciate it.
Input.
That's it.
Sorry that I don't have the legal stuff. I'm just coming from real.
You don't need to.
That's okay. You bring what you bring to the table, and we appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Can I say Burl McMillan says powerful statement and true. Donald Coleman says, amen, Rev. I always say if I have to hit my woman, I don't need her. Marsha Butler says mental abuse is worse than physical. You got someone joining up with you, Jerry, but I just think I think any abuse is terrible.
Yeah.
So I don't label, and I know there's different types of abuse, but I just think abuse is just terrible however it is. Mental, physical, financial, whatever it is.
No one should be uncomfortable in their skin or being themselves around someone else. And if they are, they need to find a way to check out of that relationship. And obviously that's easier said than done, but it needs to become doable for whoever is getting abused, because usually it doesn't get better.
Okay, Kyle stated sexual abuse and Jim sexual abuse. So sexual abuse is really invasion. I think that's almost taking it to another level. But I'm, that's me. Melba, you on two things. What you doing?
I'm about to say, when did she get back in the car?
You on mute, Melba.
She cooking and driving?
All right. If that's all we have on that subject, we're going to have Dee show us a final video.
Wait a minute, give Melba a chance. I think Melba was trying to say
sorry.
something.
No, I wasn't trying to say anything.
Okay,
I was just
all right.
switching over from my phone to my iPad because I just
All right.
walked in the door.
Don's show coming on. Now she on too.
All right, Derek, real quick. Derek, you get control of your panel, man. What's going on here? Hey guys, I'm gonna call an audible right now because we're running short on time. So I'm gonna play the aviation video from the airplane crash. The other one we'll do next week because it's gonna spark a longer conversation. And under the guise of just do your job, I don't know what to tell you. You got to do your job. Let's take a listen.
Doing too many jobs, though.
Ground Unit 2384 is declaring an emergency. The flight attendants in the back are feeling ill because of the odor. We will need to go into any available gate at this time.
Okay, roger that. Hey, this is Ed again. Do you guys have any gate for United? Because now they're declaring an emergency. They want to get out. Yeah.
Let me ask him. I'll call you right back.
Okay, roger that. Hey, it's Ed again, LaGuardia Tower. Now that United says he needs a gate, but so now he's declaring an emergency. But the ramp doesn't have a gate for him. Yeah, they're now.
We can get a stair truck if you need them to get off the plane.
Okay, yeah, do that just in case they want to come off. But so now he's on taxiway Alpha, just east of taxiway Kilo. All right, thanks, man. All right, bye-bye.
Yep, thanks.
2384, the ramp doesn't have a gate for you yet, but I'm trying to get in touch with the Port Authority to see if they have something.
Copy.
And the fire trucks are over there. They're going to bring a stair truck just in case you guys do want to evacuate. Let me know if you do.
Copy. Yeah, we'd prefer to wait on a gate, but I mean, again, we only got so much time here because there's still a bit of an odor in the back of the airplane.
Jet 646, you up? Delta 520, you're going to lane 8. Just hold short of Lima on runway 13 and just verify with the ramp that you'll be able to get in.
Okay, hold short of Lima on runway 13, and we'll talk to ramp, get back to you, Delta 520.
Thank you. I'm just verifying there's some shuffling of gates going on here due to an inbound that has an issue.
Roger.
Jet 646, LaGuardia.
No, it's you for GILS 4 for Jet 646.
646, number 2, clear to lane 4.
Close to land number 2 for Jet 646.
And 2384, do you have a gate available at this time? Otherwise, we will be probably requesting air stairs.
Give me 1 second.
2384.
Stand by, United. Who is the vehicle needed to cross the runway? Emergency vehicles calling on ground, or are you calling on tower?
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower.
Truck 1 and Company.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower, requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195, just stop there, please. Stop. Truck 1, stop.
And 2384 is cleared in lane 8 for 41.
2384, proceed to ramp.
Proceed in.
Sorry, Truck 1. Stop, Truck 1. Stop. Stop, Truck 1. Stop.
4195, we're staying here.
Delta 2603, go around. Runway heading 2000. Jet 646.
The rest we know. Let me just say something, Derek. Started. We always talk about doing your job, and we understand decisions made here, how they affect the job being done. At the end of the day, all of us know, this took me back to a time where I had a heart attack, a stroke, and a little baby hurt at the same accident, and it was just me. So everybody wanted to do chest compressions, put a wallet in this guy's mouth, and hold the baby all at the same time. You got to do your job. At the end of the day, if you need help doing your job, you got to help. What we didn't see here was later on there's an audio of the guy saying, "I messed up. I messed up. I messed up." And in some jobs, and this is for the younger people listening, you don't feel like it today. You're having a hard time. It's a dumb job. You don't think, do your job, because in a case like this, I take this as the most important job, and the job we did on a day where you don't think nothing's going to happen. You're going to have to do your job, and if you're not capable, say so. Don't figure I'm getting a check, I'm doing my job, because when the buildings come down, y'all, you got to do your job. You have to do your job, and you have to be good at your job. Why? Because lives are at stake. Lives are at stake. I know we said of only 2, but that's too many. There were 70 so people on that at that plane. Do your job. In the smallest part of your job, you got to do your job, because you don't know how it affects people. And those people that are taking jobs, that are making decisions for these people, man, get out of there if you don't know what you're doing. Because, hey, everybody in here, there's 4 or 5 people in here that's on a plane. I get down on my knees, y'all. Forget the lines at TSA. Forget ICE agents at the walking through the airport. Forget one traffic controller in a tower in LaGuardia Airport in New York, y'all. I've flown in and out. Are you kidding me? There's a plane landing and taking off every minute. One person watching the trucks, watching all the things they got to watch. So you got to be really capable of doing your job. And if you can't do your job, just ask for help. That's all I got.
All right. Next up, we have Rich.
Yeah, I was probably maybe the only person here on the panel that actually worked at an airport as a police officer. I'm not sure, but when we're in perimeter units on the field, emergencies happen and we actually cross the field, and you usually ask for permission from ground, and then ground says you're all clear to go across. The bottom line is, when I'm given permission to cross, I still look to see. I look to my left to see if there's something coming, So, you can go. I mean, you can go code 3, but you still got to watch the traffic. So, and the same procedure on the airfield. Even though you're given permission to cross, like the truck was given permission, you got to look to see if you got any kind of cross traffic or anything they don't see. And the other problem with this whole thing, like we said, you got the one guy in the tower trying to do 2, 3 jobs. That's the other problem. So you got the truck operator not looking, and he's crossing, and you got a guy doing too many jobs. And like he said, he messed up, and the other guy said, "Well, you did the best you could." So we got a couple of errors here that whole thing could have been avoided. And I think if the guy driving the truck would have looked, he would have seen the aircraft coming in, especially at night, because you got the lights coming at you, and it's really evident. So there's a couple of errors here. It's unfortunate, but I guess the majority of the fault lays with the tower trying to do 2 jobs, because he was doing the ground and he was doing the air, and he was on demand. And I don't know why he's on demand in there, especially at LaGuardia. I mean, some podunk small airports, one thing, but LaGuardia, really?
LaGuardia only has a 600-foot runway. That's all their runway is. It's 600 feet. I worked that airport.
Okay.
I too. You worked it as a cop. I worked it as a groundskeeper. I drove the tug. I put luggage on the planes. I needed to get permission to get from one side to the other as well. LaGuardia was being rebuilt, or they were adding on to LaGuardia to try to extend that runway. But at the end of the day, I've also been inside a fire truck, and I don't know how many of us have literally rode a 911 emergency inside a fire truck. But when you're in that cab can be just as very loud in itself. So I don't know. I mean, I've watched this, and I'm like being on both sides of the fence. I know I was a wing walker for the airlines. Those pilots cannot see past 10 o'clock on the left wing, and they can't see past 1 o'clock on the right wing. That's why they have wing walkers outside those wings. Those guys are out there on those wings. They are there to guide those planes into the gate and out of the gate. And it's not an easy job for the pilot to see what is coming after 10 and 1. They can no longer see. So I blame when I see this whole collision, my thing is, that guy was in the tower by himself, but he told that truck to stop several times, and the truck did not acknowledge and did not stop. But again, I also know that it's loud as hell inside those trucks especially when they're trying to run. When I say run, I mean run with some speed. Those engines are heavy, and the truck is too. So it's a bad situation. It really, really is. I feel for everybody involved. The control that air traffic controller, and like he's saying, he messed up. As far as I see, he didn't mess up. He couldn't help it, except for maybe the fact that he put him on the same runway. That might have been his mess up. But other than that, the dude that was driving the truck, they should have seen that plane way before that plane could not see them as much as they could have seen him. I'm sorry, Mark. I see your hand. I yield.
Yep. And Mark, you're going to be our last one. We are right now at 4:29, so we'll be closing it down after Mark.
So you guys, especially Rich in the West Coast, you didn't get as much information as we did. So one, it was a very, very foggy night. 2, that plane is going 109 miles an hour. 3, even like when we were in transit, if we had to go on the tracks, okay, we had to notify and they had to shut it down. There's a matter of trust that when you notify them, even when we were going on the tracks and we said, hey, cut the power to the third rail. There's no way to tell. And God forbid you touch that thing and the guy didn't turn it off, you're frying. So those firemen were trusting that they did what they were supposed to do. It was foggy. They're trying to just jet across as quick as they can. And like I said, this plane's coming 109 miles an hour. Okay, so if you've done any racing, that's moving. And you don't have the time to get out the way. So I really can't fault them because their trust was in, they did what they were supposed to do. And unfortunately, series of events, it didn't go well. There's another thing that happened that you might not know about, was they have a mechanism where it's supposed to be warned that there's a truck or whatever entering that area. And apparently it's been brought out that failed to work. So unfortunately, it was a bunch of things that happened that kind of escalated that calamity. So it was unfortunate, not to really point fingers at anybody, but the firemen in the truck, they put their faith in what they did, which was the right thing. And unfortunately, it happened the way it happened. So, but you, like I said, you out there, you probably didn't get as much information and you probably didn't get the weather report, but it was a super foggy day. And like Cheryl said, when you're in those big fire trucks, you don't really have clear visibility. And if you're going at an angle, that plane's coming from your blind side. So, I have to give them a pass on that one. Thanks.
All right. This was a good show, everyone. I guess we don't have time for a good guy video because we're now past our time, but this was an excellent show. Jerry, you were saying something?
Always want a good guy.
You always want a good guy?
You're looking at him. We here.
Always want a good guy.
Here we are.
You should host next week. Then you can have your good guy.
There we go.
So I can be the
right.
good guy? Okay.
All right, everyone. Again, excellent show. Everyone had great input. It's great to hear everyone's opinion, including our audience. And thank you, everyone, for doing what we do. Appreciate you.
Great job, Derek.
Thank you, Derek. You did an awesome job. Listen, I'm not surprised when our host, whoever it is. I'm telling those on Facebook Live, any one of these persons on here can host this show because they've been here long enough. They know exactly what we're going to do. And you see that we all do it just a little bit different, and which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Just like you start asking some of your questions, Jerry, from a civilian point of view, that's what we have you on here for.
I got you.
That's what we have you here for.
I know I'm always coming left.
We want another perspective. That's all. We want another perspective. So those on Facebook Live, thank you so much for joining us. Tim Edwards, let me see. That's let me just get these last comments in before it goes. Oh my goodness, there's a few that came in. My goodness. That's not to come. Oh, Corey Chisholm says that's not to come in if you're not 100%. Tim Edwards says, just my opinion, because of the area environment, I would think the fire truck driver should have stopped and looked before crossing, even though permission was granted to cross. That's what Rich said.
That's what I'm saying.
Corey says that's like these days when you're at a stoplight, even though it turned green, you still should pause. Then make sure it's clear. Reason being, folks do run lights now more than ever before. Corey also says, wow, 1.5 miles off runway. Michelle Davis says foggy and rainy. Corey says at 135 miles per hour and the distance, the plane had no evasive maneuvers to apply. Plane has nothing but lights coming at you. Lights as bright as Michael Jackson concert. My sister Marsha says, well done, Derek. Timothy Evans, according to the news, the truck wasn't equipped with the device to alert the tower of its location.
Wow.
They call it the transponder.
That.
Beverly Wells says, very good and informative today, as always. And Timothy, that was my first time watching, and it was very informative. Donald Coleman, let me do it from home. Donald Coleman wants to. Hey, we're all at home, Donald. We're all at home. Dickie, we're all at home.
Yes.
All right, Dickie. All right, Dickie.
Burl McMillan, excellent show as always. Always learning. Brian Camp, thank you all to the panel, and thank you for keeping New York City safe. New York City, Long Island, Hempstead, Freeport, State.
San Diego Harbor.
New Jersey.
Yes, right.
Police officers,
North Carolina, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Police officers from everywhere. Well, listen, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. Listen, I don't know if you guys want to come on next week, because next week is Holy Week. It's Thursday, Morty Thursday. I don't know if you guys listen, we'll let you guys know through this we'll be on, and I have to discuss it with the team on what we're going to do. Good weekend and week all from Renee Henderson. God bless you and God keep you. Let us pray. Anybody else with anything before we go? Anybody?
Yeah, Cheech, enjoy the game.
They won. The Mets won. We're good. The Mets won.
All right.
Did they?
They won, yeah.
DJ, will you pray us out?
Father God, we thank you once again for the opportunity to come before you, God, first of all, and then to join as a group, Lord, and having these discussions. Father, we pray now that you will keep your hand upon everyone represented in the panel and in the ones that have joined us from Facebook Live. Father, we thank you and we give you all the praise. We look forward to being in your presence again tomorrow as well as next week, God, and we pray that you will forever keep us. And this we pray in the name of your son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, CJ on demand.
He was ready like a Uzi, right?
God is good. 35 shots.
Hesitation, that's cool.
We're off there. Listen.